You might be absolutely sabotaging your zone 2, and you might not actually be improving on the bike because of this one mistake. Your endurance might not be improving, your heart rate, and you might have plateaued just because of this one thing that so many cyclists are doing. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about what that one thing is and how you can fix it. And the one metric that you should be looking at in order to make sure you are acing your zone 2. My name is Ely, go-to coach for busy cyclists. Let's dive in. Man, the first half of this ride was all just headwind. So the last 20 kilometers or so, I was pushing 230 watts into headwind on a flats. Like I think I did probably 50 or 60 meters of climbing. Average speed, 27. Even right now, I'm not even trying. I'm pushing 112 watts. Average speed's 32. Even though this bike is built to defy wind, sometimes the wind defies you, you know? Anyways, so let's start with some definitions just to get some things out the way. And this is what most cyclists get wrong. So we have to understand this and why we define things this way as well. So first things first, zone 2 is not a heart rate zone and it's not a power zone, though it does encompass those things. Primarily zone 2 is a physiological state. So most people think zone 2 is either a heart rate zone such as 130 beats per minute or something like that, or a power zone such as 200 watts. So if it were me, that would be similar to what it is. Between 130 to 145 beats per minute, between 190 to 220 watts. Now those things are true. However, zone 2 is a physiological state that is dynamic, meaning it may change even in the course of one ride or one workout. So think about it like this. Imagine I start the ride, such as today. You know, I'm in the UAE, I'm in Dubai. I start the ride at 10 a.m. It's 25 degrees outside Celsius. I do a 2-hour zone 2 ride, intending to stay at 200 watts. The first half an hour, I'm at 130 beats per minute. Great. The next half an hour, I'm now at 140 beats per minute. The next half an hour, I'm at 145. And the final half an hour, I'm at 152 beats per minute. Despite maintaining the same external load, AKA that 200 watts, the internal load changed. What my body perceived the effort was changed. I went from 130 to 152. This is, again, hypothetical. But the point being, this is what we call, and this is the one metric I want you to start looking at and tracking, aerobic decoupling. By the way, if you are a busy cyclist who's been wanting to lose a couple extra pounds of fat and gain some power on the bike, go ahead and click the link in the description. It'll take you to download my ebook, The Lean Cyclist Blueprint. It's 14 bucks. Over 1,000 cyclists have downloaded it, and it's helped so many of them to lose weight rapidly, to gain power, and to not waste time training. So go ahead and click the link in the description, and I hope it helps. So I want you to think for a second, heart rate and power. These things are coupled together. You know, when we think of a heart rate zone, zone 2, it's coupled with a power zone, 180, 190, 200 watts, whatever it is. Aerobic decoupling is when that gap, that couple starts to separate, literally to decouple. Meaning now, in order to maintain 130 beats per minute, you have to do less wattage. Or in order to maintain 200 watts, you have to take in some things into account. You have to change up some things in your ride to make sure the stimulus is exactly what you need. So why is this important? Because when aerobic decoupling gets really high, AKA your heart rate drift gets really strong, a few things happen. Number one, recovery changes. So for example, maybe you had 2 or 3 zone 2 back-to-back days in a row, but if that zone 2 changes into a different workout, such as now it's a tempo workout, the intensity shifted your body to a more moderate grind than an easy zone 2 ride. Now it's gonna be harder and harder to recover and to stack the volume. The other thing is you completely shifted the stimulus that you were expecting. Okay, so let's talk about why aerobic decoupling or heart rate drift actually happens. Because obviously this is important. It's pushing your body into a different state. You're no longer in that physiological state known as zone 2. So why would this happen? Number one, fatigue. After, let's say, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of riding, fatigue creeps in. And this is normal for everyone, from the beginner to the pro. Obviously, when this happens is different. A pro might be able to last 5 hours before that heart rate drift really starts catching up to them, whereas a beginner might only last for half an hour, but it's still there. Number two, dehydration and heat. So for example, as I was mentioning it, like in the previous example, currently in the UAE, when I start my ride, it's 25 degrees outside. By the time I'm finishing, I mean, even currently, it's at 33.8. So it is significantly hotter than it was before I started. That heat is going to drive my heart rate up. It's also going to cause dehydration. Dehydration changes the stroke volume. Dehydration raises the heart rate. And obviously there's a lot of other things that it does that are not beneficial to you physiologically, especially the more dehydrated you get. But point being, that's another factor. And then the third reason is you didn't fuel well. And if you didn't fuel well, your body is running on empty, which puts a lot more stress on that engine. There's a time and a place for fasting in your rides, especially if you're working on fat oxidation, such as I currently am. But even fasting, those conditions don't last for a 5-hour ride, a 3-hour ride. I do the first hour, maybe the first 90 minutes of my ride fasted if I'm doing a pure zone 2 ride before I start eating. But the point of this being, all these things, dehydration, heat, fatigue, and improper fueling, cause the same external load to be perceived differently. It creates a higher internal load for your body. Okay, so what's the application of this? Like, how do I fix this? What do I do? Well, it depends. My favorite answer to give, which I usually give 99% of the time, is it depends. Heart rate decoupling, aerobic decoupling is a warning light. When a warning light comes on in the car, you look at it and you adjust. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Sometimes you have to stop, adjust. It really just depends on the situation. So in some cases, all it's telling you is, hey, you gotta cool down a little bit. The sun's really strong. You're feeling really hot. Drink some water, even pour some water on your back, on yourself. Cool down your body a little bit. In other cases, it's, hey, can we eat something? Can we get some food in us? This is putting a lot of stress on the body and we simply don't have enough fuel. And in some cases, as I was just mentioning before, in some cases it literally could be, hey, we need to decrease the external output a little bit, decrease the wattage so that we don't drift too much into a tempo zone, for example, a different physiological state. So in order to maintain this heart rate, let's decrease the wattage. So the whole point of this is everything is dynamic when you're training. You have to develop the skill of listening to your body, the skill of putting your ego aside. Sometimes you might aim for let's say your zone 2 is 280 watts or 250 watts, and you want that to show up on Strava, that you maintain this perfect 280 watts the entire time. Sometimes you have to put your ego aside and be willing to accept that, hey, it's okay. I would rather give my body the correct stimulus that it needs today, rather than give my Strava followers a cool number to give me kudos to. So now the other thing, for the busy cyclist. Now, finally, for the time-crunched cyclist, which is, to be honest, the person I work with most often, because I'm a time-crunched cyclist. You don't have 15, 18, 20, 25 hours a week to train to get that zone 2 mileage in. Zone 2 is fantastic for a lot of reasons, and it's currently something I am working on after doing my fat oxidation test and seeing how low fat oxidation was for me. So it's something that is a big point of leverage for me specifically. So I'm willing to commit 8 to 10 hours a week for it. But for majority of us, even 8 to 10 hours is a stretch. So what do you do for the time crunch cyclist? Well, number one, and this is something I work with my athletes in Ride with Purpose, you have to understand what your biggest limitation is. Because time obviously is a valuable asset. You have to do the thing that's going to give you the biggest ROI on the time and energy that you spend. And in order to do that, you have to know, what's my biggest weakness? What is that thing that if I fix and improve and work on, I will have disproportionate results on the bike? For me, it was zone 2, it was fat oxidation. For another one of my clients, it was his threshold work, raising the LT2. For another one of my clients, it was something completely different altogether. It was strength training to help him reduce his risk of injury, reduce pain on the bike, and be able to sit in the saddle for longer and push power for longer without being in pain. So it really depends. If you're time crunched, the biggest thing and the best thing that you can do is understand what the 20% of training is that's going to bring you 80% of results. So here's my pitch for Ride with Purpose. I have a coaching program. It's a little bit pricey, but it's because we guarantee results and we do absolutely everything we can to make sure those results get there. From lactate accumulation tests, professional bike fits, calculating your body fat percentage, even in some cases doing blood work and a hormone panel to see if there's any vitamins and minerals you're deficient in, and supplementing to allow your body to get those vitamins and minerals. So again, Ride with Purpose, link in description for the program. It's expensive, $2,500 and then $500 a month moving forward. But after helping over 100 clients one-on-one over the past 3 years of running my own coaching business, I've found frameworks that work time and time and time again. I hope this was valuable for you. Let me know if you like these kinds of videos where it's more so education while I'm riding than it is anything else. And I hope to catch you next time.